Hi, grant writing peeps. I am here to talk to you this week about week 4 in English 4321 grant writing. So far, so good. People have been communicating with me. We are working together on our grants. We're broken up into 2 teams, green and blue. Each team has 4 groups, A, B, C, D for both teams. Each group has a leader and a specific task. The group A is doing the project description, describing what we're doing for the food bank, which in this case is a new building. Group B is writing a needs statement, which we're going to talk about today. Group C is responsible for goals and objectives, and Group D is responsible for evaluation. Each team has a quarterback. Each group has a leader, and so far so good. I realize it's frustrating might not be the right term, but we don't know who our funder is yet. Unfortunately, this happens a lot. Sometimes it takes a long time to find out who you're going to write your grant for, and I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to get some direction from the food bank about who our funder is. But regardless of what we're doing, there are things you always need in a grant. You have a need, you have a project, you have goals and objectives, evaluation plan, and those should all be a through line to the budget. As we've been talking about this logic of grant writing, you got to have a need in the community, a program that addresses it, some steps or things that you're going to do to meet the need, some way to measure you're doing the need, and all this should be reflected clearly in the budget. So this week we're going to talk about need statements. It's all important, but the thing about the need statement is you need to demonstrate why your need is particularly urgent. Quite frankly, there's a lot of good programs out there, and a lot of people need a lot of things. So you need to persuasively and honestly tell people why your community has greater need than perhaps other communities, and why it is important that this need gets met by funding this grant. Now, it's a sad thing to say, but in the coastal bend and in South Texas, we're not rich. There are a lot of people who have lots of difficulties, and it's not hard to write a need statement about South Texas, proving that there's urgent need for the kinds of services the food bank provides. So you've gotten familiar a little bit with the food bank. You know they offer a variety of programs and services. So, and again, I do a little bit of this in the writing exercise, but what are some of the needs in this community that people face that the food bank serves? Obviously, there is hunger. Why are people hungry? Because they don't have enough income. They're poor. So income and poverty, issues like that. What are some of the consequences of poor habits, not having enough food? Well, most people in the United States don't starve to death. There are some people who starve, and it's horrible, but most people have some access to food that's not good for them, that's cheap. And so they wind up having health issues as a result of not getting good, healthy food or being food insecure. If you're poor, you don't have a lot of money, maybe you can scrape some quarters and get, a bag of rice or a couple of boxes of Kraft macaroni and cheese and have it for dinner, where you're full, at least in the short term, but you're not well fed. So what are some of these problems? Anything to do with diabetes. So these are going to be things like, anything to do with food issues. So these are going to be things like diabetes. These are going to be things like heart disease or vascular disease. And you can do some research looking up what are some of the consequences of poor nutrition, and come up with your own needs as well. See if they face corpus. Chances are they do. Well, why are people poor? It's a hard problem to answer, but certainly we can show that they are poor, and there's some correlations. For example, low educational attainment. It's not a silver bullet, but people who finish high school, go to college tend to have better jobs, they tend to make more money, and there tends to be less income and poverty. So look at things like educational attainment, who finishes high school, who finishes college. Um, we could go on and on about this, but what I want to do is I want to show you some tools that you can use to begin to build a needs statement. Now, let me tell you something. This is something that we can do. This is a service that we can provide for the food bank. There are service providers, and like most nonprofits, they are in the midst of helping people. There's a lot of people that already need food, so they might not have time to look at some of these issues, do some of the research. And this is the kind of thing us as university students and us as writers can really come up with this data so they can use it for this grant, but then they can turn around and use this for other grants as well. So don't want to say too much more about this, but I want to share my screen with you and I want to look at some sources. So you're on my Zoom room here. So I'm gonna look at some basic sources. The Census Bureau, United States Census Bureau, not gov. So let's look at Corpus Christi. And it's going to give us data in two ways. Corpus Christi City, Texas. Okay. And let's look at that. And so, hey, so we have, how many people we have? We have this number of people as well, about 317,000, roughly. I don't know what the difference between these are as well. Let's look at some of the ethnicities and races as well. So Hispanic and Latino, about 63%, about 4% Black or African American. Now, where are these significant? I think if you look, you will find that certain groups are more vulnerable to things like diabetes and vascular disease. Don't take my word for it, but look at the American Heart Association, look at the American Diabetes Association. I think you'll find that people from the coastal bend, lots of Latinos tend to be more at risk for particular health issues as well. So that's a consequence of food related issues. That's why there's so many good nutrition programs, so many diabetes management programs that are run through the food bank as well. Let's look at some other things as well. Computer and internet use. Does this mean a lot? I don't know. But education. So just remember these dates. About 83% of people finish high school, 22% of people have a bachelor's. Again, we're going to talk about income and educational attainment as well. About 20% of people are disabled. Let's look at some other things as well. Income and poverty. You got the 56,000 median household income, 16% people in poverty. Let's see if we can get other data is here. So that's a good, nice data set as well. Let's see if we can get another data set to compare. Actually, I'm going to do these on separate windows so I can put these side by side, which may just seem pointless, but hopefully you'll be able to see this. So we'll do census.gov. Here we are, and we were at here. So what do we do? Corpus Christi City, Texas. And what this did is it took us to the quick facts menu, which is a little bit handy. So let's do the state of Texas. So we get, does it give us Texas? Well, we want the whole state. Is it giving us the whole state? No, it's not Texas. So this is being difficult. Okay, so I got to go back the other way because QuickFacts has gotten wonky, for which I apologize. They have made some real changes to this census just in the last couple of weeks because they're coming out of a census year. And I was trying to give you the data in a similar way as well, but we can't get it. So let's just do Texas. And it's not going to give us quick facts, unfortunately, but it'll give us a profile. So let's look at some of these things. So Texas median household income was 64,000. Median household income in Corpus was 56,000. So we're about $8,000 a year lower than the state of Texas. About 30% of people have a bachelor's. Sorry. And yeah, like I said, it's about 22% of people have a bachelor's in Corpus. They don't give household thing as well, but so you keep on going, and again, it would be better if these data were all laid out the same way. But so this stuff is not helpful. But they're more they're more vet so they're more so veterans. There's more veterans in well, actually, this kind of is helpful in that it lays it out by us versus the United States. So if you have a younger Texas has a younger population than the United States. There are more veterans in Texas than there are in the United States. Percentage-wise, there are more veterans in the coastal bend than there are in Texas. So median household income in Texas is 64,000. Remember, it's 56 in Corpus, 65,000 in the United States. Poverty, 12% people, 12.3% of people in all the United States, 13.6% in the US. But what was it? Poverty in the in Corpus, it's 16% as well. And if you get into kids, there's like 19%. And again, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you see this. This is called comparative statistics. You look how things are in the United States. I'm sorry, you look how things are in Corpus Christi or in Nueces County. You look how things are in the United States. You look how things are in Texas or Corpus, Texas, United States, and you see Corpus is lower on all these indicators. So that can be a really, really helpful database to use as well. So let's look at Center for Disease Control. Do some different things. Diseases and conditions. Let's look at diabetes. We get resources and publications, information, awareness campaigns, diabetes statistics report as well. So what can we get? Let's get the latest diabetes statistics as well. 37 million have it, 1 in 10, 1 in 5 don't know about it. New cases, type 2 diabetes increased. The impacts, the way it helps us as well. You can get maps and all kinds of other information as well. I don't know what will happen if we look at something like diabetes in Texas, if it'll give us any useful information or not. Primary care physicians in Texas, geographic disparities in diabetes, amputations. I won't go through all this, but Corpus Christi is the amputation capital of the United States. There are more amputations due to diabetes in Corpus than the other places as well. So lots of stuff about disease and these food-related issues as it related to Texas. You can look at heart disease, you look at malnutrition. Let's look at some other things. Let's look at the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA. It deals with food. So let's do some terms. Food insecurity. What is food insecurity? Definitions. Okay. So ranges of food security, food insecurity. One or two. Okay. Food insecurity. And you have to read this with is a household level economic and social condition, limited uncertain access to food. Means you don't necessarily know where your next meal is coming from, or you don't necessarily know that you got enough food for the week. Hunger results from food insecurity. You don't have enough to eat. You're hungry as well. So, and then you might look up some things like food insecurity. And again, don't like to knock my hometown or my home state, but Texas is usually the most food insecure state in the nation, or the second most food insecure state in the nation as well. So food insecurity. How about food deserts? Okay. What's a food desert? A food desert. Food Access Research Atlas. Okay. Food Access Research Atlas. So what's this? It's a map. So it's a clickable map. You go to United States and you go down and you look for Corpus Christi, Texas, 784. What is food access? So these are food deserts. I want me low income and low access to food within 10 miles. That makes it a food desert or not. So you see these, I'm just playing with some of these indicators here as well, but this is in the city. This isn't even like regions. So these big chunks of area are, this is in the city of Corpus Christi, are food insecure. There are people with low income and don't have a grocery store within 10 miles with easy access as well. So even in Corpus Christi, you've got food deserts, places where people cannot get easy access to food. What does that matter? Well, if you got money in a car, it doesn't matter a whole lot. You just get in your car and go to HEB. But if you don't have a lot of money, don't have a car, you got to depend on public transportation. Some of y'all are college students, you know this. You know it's hard to get place where the groceries. You know, there's a food pantry, Izzy's Pantry on our campus, which is staffed by or stocked by the Food Bank of Corpus Christi. So what does this have to do with anything? Well, I'm going to look. I'm going to dig in here. And you'll notice that Texas A&M Corpus Christi doesn't come off too well. It's Ward Island there, you know. You don't have a lot of food. Now, the Bluff's not a food desert. And certain other places aren't, but, you know, big chunks of Corpus Christi are there as well. And then if you want to zoom out a little bit, and remember in this one, it's in this area, green is bad, essentially. If you look at the counties that we serve, the food bank serves, you got, you know, Port Aransas County, you got, goodness, Brooks County, you got all these counties, entire areas that the food bank serves are all food deserts. There are places where people don't have access to food. People in small towns don't have access to food unless the food bank comes. Elderly people, they may not have money, they may not have a car, they don't have access to food. So, and again, these are just some sources that you can look at. You can find out anything, American Diabetes Association, the Heart Association, other things that you're familiar with as well. But what's my point? My point is, this is research. And what good need statements do is they use facts, true facts, to make a compelling case that there is strong need in our community, and Corpus Christi Food Bank meets those needs, and that we really need these funds. That's what we're working on this week. all the groups continue to work on your group. I feel like things are going well so far. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.